So there's been a new update with the Palworld v Pokemon lawsuit situation that's been going on for a while now, and as always, it looks like Pocket Pair has been teetering the line between what's legal and what's not, where they always try to get as close to the line as possible just to piss Nintendo off without actually crossing it. But in this case, it looks like they might actually be caving into some of Nintendo's demands, and that's got a lot of people, feeling pretty upset about the whole situation, because those who are rooting for Palworld initially, well, they feel like now Palworld is kind of just giving up. So as a response to Nintendo's patent lawsuits against Pocket Pair, Palworld recently got an update where they changed the way the interactions work with the pals and how you summon them to fight alongside with you to sort of just like comply with Nintendo on this ongoing legal battle. And for context, Nintendo's been suing Pocket Pair, the developers of Palworld, aka Pokemon with Guns, over 3 patented game mechanics that Pocket Pair has allegedly been infringing on, with Nintendo looking for an injunction on these mechanics, meaning they want Palworld to take those mechanics out of the game completely and stop using them, plus compensation for the damages. The compensation in this case is only about 10 million yen, which is like $65,000 USD, basically pocket change for a company like Pocket Pair that was raking in millions of dollars with how many copies of Palworld they sold. But the reason for that is because what Nintendo really cares about in this spot is not really making money off the lawsuit, it's really about the injunction part. Like, trust me, Nintendo doesn't need more money. I'm pretty sure they have more than enough. It's all about sending a message at this point, and what they want to do here is just maintain power over the creature capturing genre. So the 3 patents that we're talking about here that Nintendo is suing over is number 1, being able to throw a ball towards a character in a field to trigger a combat state, so like when you throw a pal sphere to summon your pal for them to be able to fight for you. Number 2, being able to aim and throw something to capture the creatures in the wild. And number 3, a patent about being able to ride creatures in an open world, which, that one in particular, that sounds like the most ridiculous one of them all, to be honest. But, obviously, these patents go into so much more specific detail in the documents as to what is allowed and what's not, because it's not like Nintendo's suddenly trying to ban horse riding in video games. It's not like they're trying to say that you're not allowed to ride mounts in World of Warcraft anymore or something. It's just the way they go about it. I guess it's like, there's a lot of nuance to it. And well, as a response to this whole legal headache that's been going on with the 2 companies, Palworld recently threw out update 0.3.11 that some people, like I mentioned, they're pretty upset about it because, again, it feels like they're caving into Nintendo's pressure. And let's go over the patch notes real quick for that little update, and it's literally just, here we go. Update 0.3.11, just 2 lines. Change the behavior of summoning player-owned pals so that they are always summoned near the player, and the reticle will now only be displayed when aiming. That's it. That's what everybody's been going crazy over, just those 2 little lines. And if you go over to some of the comments in the update, you have 25 clown emojis. Says, ooh, nice quality of life change. I really hope you guys beat the lawsuit and the game stays around. It's the perfect Steam Deck game. Can't wait for you guys to win that lawsuit. Another glorious victory for the Pal Chads. Everybody knows what this is about. It's not just some random, we're trying to improve the game kind of update. This is a direct response to Nintendo. Alright, so let's go ahead and boot the game up to kind of just show you guys what the differences are. JustSaySteven, level 27, day 32. It's been a long time since I've played this game. Alright, so it's been a hot minute since I last played this game, so a lot of it I just kind of forgot where I left off, but I guess this is my base and everything. One of the key changes that they made was just the way you summon the pals. So right now I have my hotbar, and if I just want to summon my creature here, if I throw the Pokeball, well, I guess the pal sphere, I don't really throw it, right? He kind of just shows up. Let me just put him back away. And yeah, let's go over to like a combat scenario here. So if I want to fight this chickpea, right? I'm not really throwing the Pokeball, right? The creature's just spawning right next to me, which is really silly because, this whole argument, this whole debate, this whole legal battle is literally over the act of throwing the Pokeball, the Pal Sphere in this case. So the fact that you can just circumvent that by literally just having the Pokemon, the pals just spawn next to you, it's honestly really silly. And for this creature, he's kind of regular size, but when you have creatures like Wyvern, for example, it just gets kind of like weird how they just spawn right in your face. It just takes up space, which I guess, it kind of just takes away from the magic of being able to take a Pokeball or like a Pal Sphere and just chuck it at the opponent, and then, the fighting happens at a distance and you, the trainer, are all the way over here from a safe spot. I guess that does take away from that, which, for some people, that's their entire nostalgic thing, right? They grew up with that, so when they don't see that in their Pokemon-like game, they're like, wait a minute, this isn't Pokemon. The other thing that they changed, let me just take away this Wyvern before he just murders the whole village. Yeah, the other thing that they changed was like the reticle on the character. You know, you don't see like the little reticle on the center, which only shows up when you're aiming, but when you're not aiming, I honestly don't know if that was there before. Like, I couldn't tell you, to be honest. But yeah, you still have the Pokeball throwing mechanic, you still have the reticle that shows up, even though they said that it was removed. Everything else about the game is still perfectly fine. The only thing that's changed is just like now, I just summoned Wyvern and he's like right there in my face. And also the mount riding system, I got this guy, and if I want to fly him, well, that hasn't really changed either, right? I'm still riding the mount. So yeah, everybody thinks that the whole mount riding part of the lawsuit, that one patent, seems to be like the silliest one, the most frivolous, the one that people care about the least. So I can understand why the developers of Palworld will be like, you know what, let's just keep the mount riding as a part of the game. Let's not try to like remove that preemptively as a safety measure, because, you know, at the end of the day, it is such an important and core part of the game to be able to just mount and get around the map using your pals. So in terms of like the game mechanics itself, in terms of like the game itself, nothing about the experience has really changed as a response of the lawsuit yet. Just the fact that now your Pokemons, your pals, just spawn right next to you. That is it. There's no game-changing, game-altering mechanic that's happened. Just that. All right, let me get out of here before that thing destroys me. Whoops, oh, return the title. So if you go over to the Twitter X post that Palworld made regarding the 0.3.11 update, the changes to the player controls, like, you can see that people have been going kind of crazy, sharing how they feel about it. I think universally, people just don't like it. They say like, I love this game, but this is a very strange patch. Why change these two specific things? Honestly, this update makes the whole game feel a bit worse. Even talked to some friends and they hate the changes. It's so bad they believe it's tied to the lawsuit. Well, now I'm upset. I use the reticle to help with motion sickness and always keep it on, and I always utilize the ability to throw my summon pal directly where I need it to go. So overall, going through most of the comments, I can't really find a single positive one other than like on the Steam reviews. So people universally agree that it just makes the gameplay experience feel worse. Like, I do agree that it just feels weird how the pals sort of just appear next to you. It feels clunky and gross. Of course, I understand that this is a response to Nintendo's patent lawsuit against Pocket Pair, and it is a cheeky way to get around it, to be honest, but you can tell that it still needs a little bit of polishing in order to make it look good. Like, everything else in the game is still as smooth as I remember it back when it first released, back when I first started playing Palworld. The pal summoning feature, though, I do agree it just feels a little out of place. Like, if the problem with Nintendo is that the mechanic of throwing a sphere into a digital space is something worthy of throwing out a lawsuit, well, why don't they just invent pal cubes or pal triangles to get around the nonsense? Like, I know that's not the issue, but you know what I mean. Like, I know that the 3 patents that we're dealing with here are a stupid thing to be suing a company over, but it is just Nintendo retaliating against Pocket Pair, who was always pretty open about taking heavy inspiration from Pokemon. Like, I don't know if you guys remember this news coming out, but there was even a time where an ex-Pocket Pair designer allegedly came out stating that the CEO would intentionally ask them to make the pals look more like Pokemons. Like, there was even a statement that came out and everything. It's all alleged, it's all, nothing is true until proven, I suppose. But if that is really true, then, if you go by the side-by-side comparisons of Pokemons and pals, you can see the similarities there pretty obviously. When you take all of that into consideration, then you can see that this lawsuit really just boils down to pettiness versus pettiness. Pocket Pairs being petty by, directly ripping off Pokemon's designs while still technically making them different, but, still being very blatant about the fact where they got their inspirations from, and Nintendo going like, okay, you do that, fine, I'll be super petty by suing you over these patents that, at the end of the day, I'm not going to enforce on any other game, but I will enforce on you because I'm petty. But in terms of what we have right now and how things are looking, well, it feels like Nintendo has the upper hand in this whole legal battle, or, maybe Pocket Pair is just complying with the whole situation to avoid issues for now. Think about it like this. If Pocket Pair were to lose the lawsuit and be forced to comply with the injunction, well, I think that removing the mechanic from the game preemptively is a lot better than being forced to remove the game entirely from sale. I think we can all agree that patenting game mechanics just sets game development back, and it just makes creating cool experiences for people to enjoy a lot harder for game developers to do, especially if we're talking about small indie game companies going up against titans like Nintendo. Now, Pocket Pair and Palworld are by no means a small indie company at this point. They do have Sony with a major role in the franchise now, and you know, I can assure you that as soon as this whole thing is over, they're just gonna go crazy with the games, with the animes, with the plushies, with everything. They're gonna try to take as big as a slice of Nintendo's pie as they can. Maybe once the lawsuit is finally over, maybe they'll think about re-implementing, throwing the PAL sphere, and, you know, implementing that system back into the game just to make gamers happy, because for as small and as insignificant as just throwing a ball to summon a creature sounds like, well, it's literally what defines so many people's childhoods with Pokemon. And you can't really have a Pokemon with guns game without the signature Pokemon thing of throwing your Pokemon out with a ball and then just letting them fight for you, die for you, and all of that stuff. That's really the whole matter, the whole scope of the situation that's been going on. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. My voice is shot because I've been sick for the past 2 weeks at this point, but I'm finally getting better, so I'm back to posting again. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one.